It's the start of the season, and it's, as always, the time of the classics in Italy, Belgium. Well, the Spring Classics campaign kicks into action with La Primavera, the race from Milan to San Remo. A race which has been part of the racing calendar since 1907. The first monument of the season and the longest of the year.
Hopefully I can try and make history today and be the third Australian to win the race. But yeah, also Oscar Ferrer has given me a lot of pointers on this via Roma. He's won it 3 times, so yeah, it'll be good. It'll be good with his advice to see how I go.
Michael Matthews, one of the favourites, as indeed Geraint Thomas, Vincenzo Nibali and Greg Van Avermaet, who's just won Tirreno Adriatico.
Tirreno was unexpected, but yeah, everything went pretty well that week. Had the stage win, had the win of Tirreno. And for me, it gives a lot of confidence for classics, and it starts today with Milan San Remo. It's one of my goals of this year, and I hope to do good today.
Champion Peter Sagan signing on for almost 300 kilometres of racing. It's the longest classic of them all, from the Lombardy Plain to the Ligurian coast. Passo Turchina kicks off the action when they hit the coast, and then heading towards the traditional finale of Cipressa and Poggio, which should bring a few more fast finishers into contention. Riders waved away in the streets of Milan, and when the flag came in at kilometre 0, it wasn't too long before the breakaway got organised. 11 riders ahead from pretty much early on. 3 of them have been in the break the last 2 years in a row. Pictures of landslide here, area on a section of the course just a few minutes before the riders, and around Arazzano near Genoa, as the 11 riders in the breakaway maintain that 3-minute advantage. So various crashes. Pack is nervous and stressed, and the first capo will arrive, and all the teams want to have their leader in front. So, well, that means many crashes. Broken bikes, broken limbs, always a danger. Top teams in front with 47 kilometres remaining, trying to keep their leaders out of the crashes. Orica Greenedge looking after Matthews, Tinkoff for Sagan, Lotto Soudal for Galopin, or Astana for Nibali at the front. While on the Capo Berta, the gap to the breakaway group decreasing faster and faster. Less than 1 minute now. Tifosi here to support the riders. They all dream of an Italian victory. The last Italian to win La Primavera was Pippo Pozzato in 2006. That's fully 10 years ago. Marco Collidan fancies his chances. He attacks from the breakaway group. The group is splitting. 11 riders up front initially. Gediminas Bagdonis, who was in that early move, waves bye-bye as he's dragged back by the peloton. Big crash, and many of the favourites and 1 or 2 less favourite riders are caught up in that tangle. Geraint Thomas, Arnaud Demar, even Michael Matthews have been caught up in this one. And it's going to be a big battle for those riders who are able to resume the action to get back into position close to the front of the group. And that's caused consternation in many of the squads.
Another one. Who? Who crashed who? Bling. Bling. Take a bike, we'll be there. Bling's
frustration for Michael Bling Matthews and his Orica Greenedge team as Arnaud Demar begins his chase back up through the cars to try and get back into position. as we're coming to the back end of La Primavera. The break is caught by the peloton. And the attacks from the big teams are starting to wind up. Giovanni Visconti, the Italian former national road race champion, fancies his chances. He wants to soften it up for Team Movistar. Ian Stannard likes the look of that one. Team Sky's big, powerful rider. Daniel Oss next up for BMC. Attacks from the bunch. He's dragging Sabatini from Edix Quickstep and Monteguti from AG Tour Le Mondial with him. 5 riders up front with just under 17 kilometers remaining. Visconti's powering along, and what do they fancy in the peloton behind? Less than 9 kilometers remaining as we get set for the Poggio. 60 riders still in contention. Andrea Fedi from the Southeast squad, the Pro Continental team, kicks it all off, launches on this, the final climb of Milan San Remo. Not to be for Fedi, but a great effort as Tony Galopin of France and Lotto Soudal launches the next effort. Counter-attack by Kwiatkowski with 6 kilometers to go. Former world champion puts in a powerful effort for Team Sky. And crash for Anthony Roux, the Frenchman with Française de Jeu on the descent of the Poggio. Always difficult. Kwiatkowski still ahead. Cancellara attacks from the bunch. Matteo Trentin, Paris Tour 2015 winner, fancies getting involved with this one with just 1,300 meters remaining. Cancellara and Trentin are caught. And the last counter-attack, it's the Norwegian champion, Boasson Hagen. Greg Van Avermaet goes, trying to avoid the bunch sprint, but they're not going to hang on.
This is absolutely fascinating. Who is going to take it up in the final? There's a crash! A big crash. Looks like Gaviria has gone. Here is the final sprint. It looks like one of the riders from Lotto Soudal trying to take it up in the final. Nasser Bouhanni is also there. Arnaud Demar is also there. Ben Swift also in the mix for Team Sky. Who is going to take the victory in the centre? Arnaud Demar is going on the left-hand side. Demar of the FDJ takes the win. Ben Swift is second for Team Sky. Who would have predicted that?
Well, joy for Arnaud Demar as he celebrates with team and staff. First French victory in Milan San Remo for 21 years. Laurent Jalabert, the last Frenchman to succeed on the roads of San Remo. He can almost, well, he's struggling to believe it. Demar it is that gets it from Ben Swift of Team Sky. Jurgen Rollins completes the podium ahead of Bouhanni, Van Avermaet, Christoph Hessler, Pozzato, Colbrelli and Trentin rounding out the top 10. It's a top 10 of sprinters. And at the top of the podium is Arnaud Demar with a famous victory in Milan San Remo. Joy for Demar. And coming next after Milan San Remo, well, it'll be time to go to Flanders for 2 of the biggest races of the year. Tour of Flanders and Paris-Roubaix coming up after this break.
Присмотритесь. Этот маршрут был разработан, чтобы стать полем битвы. Нибали возвращается, чтобы командовать атаками. Спринтеры и раздельщики будут штурмовать Нидерланды и Тоскану. А горняки возьмут под контроль Доломиты. Жестокая гонка, вплоть до финальных сражений в Альпах. Джиро де Италия. Только для смелых.
Welcome back to the best of classics with next up the Tour of Flanders, the monument that is the Ronde van Vlaanderen. And on the 3rd of April, so many people have come out to see the riders' presentation from the 100th edition of the Tour of Flanders.
It's not only about winning, it's about history. So history is my motivation, it's not the win.
Well, among the favourites, reigning champion Alexander Kristoff, local hero Greg Van Avermaet.
Fourth one.
But it's all about Cancellara.
Probably I need a Belgian passport.
Triple winner of the race, the Swiss hero. Trying to see if he can sign off his career with victory in Ronde just one more time, which would make him a hero forever in Belgium. It's a complicated route as ever. And so many sections of cobbles. And 19 climbs, 7 extra sections of cobbles for the riders. And when the flag comes in, well, no surprise, the road is lined throughout. Difficult start to the race. And it took a long time for the breakaway group to get going. Eventually, the group includes Lucas Postelberger, Imanol Irviti, Gijs van Hoek, Hugo Uhl, Wesley Crater, Frederik Zurlo from Lamprey Merida. Just over 4 minutes advantage at one stage, and the crashes came thick and fast. The hero of Milan San Remo caught up in this tangle. Commonplace in races like this. Arnaud Demar from Française de Jeu goes down in this one, and he won't be back on his bike today. So typical of Tour of Flanders, narrow roads, just a flat section, relatively benign tarmac, but look at this big one for BMC. So many of the team riders caught up, not least of course Greg van Avermaet, who based his entire season on this race. And his smashes his helmets to the ground, and he puts his head in his hand in tears. What a devastating blow for the Belgian. Comes so close on so many occasions. A little bit later on, Andre Greipel fancied his chances, the man for Lotto Soudal. And he's joined by Hugo Uhl, who latches on to the move of Greipel and Pollitt. Greipel, Pollitt, Uhl and Erviti. Zurlo, Greg van Hoek lead the race. Another attack from Andre Greipel with just over 45 kilometers remaining, and he wants to take a solo lead onto the Koppenberg. The big powerful sprinter. Well, the race is well and truly on in the main group behind, and it's splitting up now as they drag their way up the Koppenberg. Cancellara and Sagan close to the front. Bosenhagen prominent as well. There's only about 20 riders in there, but it's forging on. Cancellara, Sagan, Thomas, Kwiatkowski. Bonin is in there, as you would expect. And there's regroupment in the groups behind the leaders. Kwiatkowski, former world champion, now goes with Peter Sagan. They're trying to make something happen here. It's the two men who contested E3 Harelbeke. Sepp van Mark trying to make his way across to make it a trio from the lead group. The main group of contenders. Well, the breakaway has 21 seconds on the three men and 42 seconds on the peloton, with just under 25 kilometers remaining in Ronde van Vlaanderen. Sagan, Kwiatkowski and Van Mark join the breakaway group. 5 riders up front. Sagan goes straight to the front, and the main pack behind. How will this one play out? Do the main group, or do they have enough firepower and enough willing members to try and close this one down? Katusha on the front for the reigning champion, Alexander Kristoff, who must be feeling a little bit concerned with 17.3 kilometers to go on the Eau de Quaremont. Well, the lead group arrives with Sagan leading onto the climb. An amazing Cancellara. He's whittled down the gap on the approach to the climb. The Swiss rider is then puts on the burners. He's past Kwiatkowski. The other chasers also bridge across. Sagan and Van Mark have established an advantage. Cancellara is the third man on the road in pursuit. Sagan gets the gap with a seated acceleration on the Paterberg. Van Mark doesn't have enough today. He cracks, and he'll soon be caught by Cancellara. So near and yet so far once more for Van Mark, but it's Sagan who folds his arms over his handlebars. Just has to get his head down and give this everything. And how well can Cancellara and Van Mark work together to close that gap? And the world champion has done it. Victory for Sagan, finally a monument win for the Slovak star. Cancellara salutes the crowd as he comes in second. Van Mark isn't contesting as he rolls across for the final podium spot. Well, it's frustration for Cancellara.
Second is not first, and first is not history. So I mean, yeah, I didn't win, but yeah.
For Peter Sagan, though, it's a sweet, sweet moment in his career, and it's been a long time coming.
I feel very good. I'm very happy, and yeah, it was super hard the race from the start until the finish. Always full gas. It's very hard to work with another guys because nobody don't want to work with me, and then it's always better to drop everybody, I think.
He's a fine sprinter, but he can win solo as well. Peter Sagan takes his first monument ahead of Fabian Cancellara and Sepp Van Mark. Christophe misses out. Luke Rowe, best of the British. Dylan Van Barle, Erviti from the early breaks. Zidanic, Stibar and the rest, all bit part players. As Sagan, ever the showman, demonstrates his prowess with the perfect celebration. Next up, Paris-Roubaix. For many people, the big one. We're just 1 week after Tour of Flanders, and it's time for a Sunday in hell. From the start line in Compiègne, now the riders face 52 kilometers in cobblestones. In total, over 257.5 kilometers of racing before the traditional finish on the Velodrome in Roubaix. This is the 114th edition of the Hell of the North, one of the oldest races on the calendar. And it's a legendary race. Strikes fear into all the riders. And you need luck and strength to prevail on the cobbles. When the riders take the start, well, they simply never know how the day will end. There's so many small things that can destroy or maybe even help make the race for one of the riders. Nothing is sure beforehand. Nothing is sure for Alexander Pichot of Direct Energy, who loses saddle before the real start. Not the perfect or ideal start. Lots of attacks from the peloton, but it took more than 70 kilometers before a significant breakaway managed to establish itself. Nielsen from Orica, Wallace from Lotto Soudal, 24 riders. Some big names like Sylvain Chavanel, Jasper Stuyven, Trentin Lagdegnu, Matthew Heyman still 8th and 10th of the previous editions of Paris-Roubaix in front. In the first couple section at Troisville, the gap is less than 1 minute to the 24-man breakaway group. Breakaway manages to increase that advantage. Tony Martin on the front for Edix Quickstep as he accelerates to split the peloton. Many groups and many riders are trapped, like Sagan and Cancellara. The overhead shot illustrating just how much the cobbles split the peloton. At the head of the race, the main peloton, the Bonin group, led by Tony Martin, 2:49 behind the group of leaders, with the group of Peter Sagan chasing further behind, 3:29 in arrears. Into the Arenberg forest for the breakaway group, the most fabled and the most feared section of cobbles. They hit this one at such a rate, such a pace. So many dreams will be shattered at this point. Well, the breakaway has been caught at this point by the Bonin group under the sustained impetus of Bonin and Tony Martin. At Orchies, the Cancellara accelerates and splits the group. Meanwhile, Bonin is leading the break. Cancellara is not out of this one yet. Peter Sagan knows to stay close by. After Orchi, Sagan joins Cancellara and overtakes Chavanel, who was in the early morning breakaway. Just 34 seconds behind now. Can they get into contention? Well, no, the advantage starts to spread against. The gap increases. Cancellara Group needs to take all the risks to try and push on. And the crash in the group chasing behind. That's Cancellara. Cancellara goes down, takes Terpstra with him, but amazing bike handling from Peter Sagan. The world champion just about manages to vault over Fabian Cancellara, who's back on his bike, but I wonder his Paris-Roubaix finished for him despite his efforts. Showing the scars of battle. He's lost almost 2 minutes on Peter Sagan at this point. Meanwhile, up front, Tom Boonen, just a few kilometers before the sector of Siswan. Sepp van Mark tries to follow, but everyone's concentrating hard, and he's caught by the group. Ian Stannard is next to try, assisted by his Sky teammate Luke Rowe. Only Boonen, Van Mark, Boasson-Hagen and Heyman can follow. Well, the winner of Paris-Roubaix 2016 is surely one of these 5 breakaway men. Little bit of muscle from Ian Stannard, and Matthew Heyman struggling on that left-hander as Van Mark tries his luck. Into the Carrefour de l'Arbre. Van Mark is caught. And tries once more. Had a little look over his shoulder. He realizes that Ian Stannard, Tom Boonen, Edvald Boasson-Hagen not far behind. Ian Stannard goes again with just 6 kilometers remaining, but it all comes to naught. Edvald Boasson-Hagen is ever vigilant. Now an attack from Matthew Heyman. It's his 15th participation in Paris-Roubaix. The Australian rider doesn't want to let any chance to win his first big race in his 16-year career miss out on this occasion. And the next one to go is Tomica. Tom Boonen manages to get a bit of a daylight, but Edvald Boasson-Hagen goes to the front of the group and realizes that he's got to do a job. Matthew Heyman bridges to Tom Boonen, and it's these two who'll be joined by Sepp van Mark as they arrive into the stadium for the lap and a half to complete Paris-Roubaix. The finish will be contested by this trio. Tom Boonen on the front.
Boonen, the Belgian, at the front in the blue. Alongside him is Heyman, who will want to try and steal a bit of a gallop. Half a lap to go. They go to the banking for the final time. It's Heyman, the big Aussie, who is there. And Stannard's coming out on the right-hand side. Wants to be the first British runner. Stannard is there in the black on the left-hand side. But it's Heyman there. Heyman and Boonen. Heyman going all the way. But here comes Tom Boonen. Boonen's there. But it's Heyman who breaks his heart.
The police. Yes! Great job, Matthew. Great job, mate.
Unbridled joy for Matt Heyman, who could barely believe that he has achieved a career-defining moment.
You don't seem to believe it. No. I saw you are always...
Yeah, it's the race I love the most all year, but I never dreamed of winning it. I dreamed that if I got lucky, maybe I could be on the podium, but yeah, unbelievable. I mean, you know, you're racing Cancellara, Tom Boonen, Peter Sagan. These are the best guys in the world for this race, and I went in today without any kind of stress. I had a broken arm 5 weeks ago, so I was really relaxed, and I just went in the breakaway, and it's one of the only races where the breakaway can pay off like this.
Fairy tale moment for Matt Hayman, but disappointment for Tom Bonin. Will he be back again? Matthew Hayman lifts the cobble on his 15th appearance in the race.
Oh, deception, but I'm proud that the race we did today with the team was amazing, and I think all 5 of us in the final had equally amount of chance and equal amount of right to win the race, and everybody did a few attacks. I attacked. I was feeling really sad when I passed the line, but in the end, if I look back at it now, you have to be proud, because it's not because you are there with 5 you automatically win the race.
Impressive words from Tom Bonin, who misses out on victory once more in Roubaix, to Matt Hayman, who takes the victory. Ian Stannard, third Brit on the podium in the history of Roubaix. Sepp van Mark in 4th, Bosenhagen. And also Fabian Cancellara finishing 7.5 minutes in arrears. When he dreamed about victory for his final Paris-Roubaix. He was big favourite, but it wasn't to be.
I was racing for winning and not racing for crashing down and being out like that. But I think on the end, I mean, I'm quite relaxed now, and we can be proud of our result, and we did everything we could until to today, and that's why we win together, we lose together, and we celebrate full gas together. That's what is also important.
Disappointment for Cancellara. The Flanders Classics are completed. Well, coming next, we're looking forward to the Ardennes Classics. So join us after the break as we take you through the Spring Classics here on Eurosport. To best of classics. Well, after Flanders, we move towards the Ardennes for the 3 one-day races that suit a very different character of rider. The Amstel Gold, the first of those. And already in the neutralised section, even before the race got underway, an horrific crash for Fabio Fellini of Trek Segafredo. And that's a little bit of extra footage, I think, demonstrating what a nasty little accident that was. He just was making an adjustment to the front of his bike, caught his hand and vaulted over the handlebars. So a head injury for Fabio Fellini, and he was out of the action before it even got underway. 258 kilometres in total for the riders in the only classic race in the Netherlands. 34 climbs, 3 ascents of the fabled Kouberg. The final one is reached just 1.8 kilometres from the finish. Thijs Benoot is out early. Disappointment for the young Belgian rider. He's got a big future in the classics, but wasn't to be in Amstel. The early breakaway group, 10 riders in total, managing to forge an advantage. Ploughing on out front. Grelier from Direct Energy as behind in the peloton. The inevitable crashes mount up. Alexis Viermoz from AG Tour Le Mondial. Looks as if he's fallen from the sky there, and unfortunately he had to abandon the race. In the first passage of the Kouberg for the breakaway group, 3 minutes and 23 seconds. 13% in points, and with 34 total climbs across the 258 kilometres. This one is always a bit of a leg breaker. Gianni Meersman from Edix Quickstep drags a group away, includes Tosh van der Sande, Nicolo Bonifacio and Bjorn Thurau. And the weather changes as Monteguti from AG Tour Le Mondial splits the breakaway on these testing, challenging, tight, twisty, extremely technical roads in the Amstel Gold. Didier and Retze have been retained by the peloton with just 35 kilometres to go. Lots of favourites really struggling today. Tom Dumoulin The Dutch favourite, well, it's not to be his day, the giant Alpecin man. Milan Kwiatkowski also on a day, jour saint. The weather perhaps affecting his chances. And the final riders from the breakaway group look over their shoulders and realise that the peloton have got them with just under 15 kilometres remaining. Orica Green Edge trying to set something up. They've got Michael Bling Matthews in fine form. And this is a stated aim of his for the season. Matt Hayman, the hero of Paris-Roubaix, back on domestic duties, setting the tempo as Edvald Boasson-Hagen. That's a surprise. Dimension Data rider not able to follow the pace with 8 kilometres remaining. Tim Wellens, a trademark attack for the Lotto Soudal rider. Opening up a 12-second advantage as he tries to see can he get to the final ascent of the Cauberg with enough in hand to race to glory. Well, he does lead them up the Cauberg, but behind, here come the attacks from the peloton, and it's Gasparotto, a former winner of Amstel Gold, the Wanty Group Gobert rider. Leads up the Cauberg and distancing the rest of the peloton. Bacalance of AG Tour Le Mondial is not able to follow this one. Michael Valgren in the yellow of Tinkoff waits and realizes that Gasparotto is on a fine day, and this is a big attack. Bacalance can't follow. He looks to the others in the main group as Valgren gives a big turn to Gasparotto. Under the kite, behind, Jelle van den Dert is chasing for Lotto Soudal. It's Valgren on the front for Tinkoff Saxo. Gasparotto in his wheel as they approach the finishing sprint, well inside the final 200 metres, and it's Enrico Gasparotto rolling back the years as he races clear to a second victory in Amstel Gold. Frustration for Michael Valgren, but pointing to the sky is Enrico Gasparotto as he dedicates that victory to his late teammate Antoine Demoitier, who passed away following that crash in Ghent-Wevelgem. Joy for Enrico Gasparotto.
I think our angel was in the shoulder of all the team. Okay, it sounds good to have an angel, but it's not so good. It's really hard. And yesterday also Antoine's wife came to our hotel, and then it was an hard moment for everybody. For all the things we needed to do today, something special, and to give our 110%.
Well, what a wonderful tribute to their late teammates. Demoitier, as Gasparotto takes the victory ahead of Michael Valgren. Sonny Colbrelli getting the sprint for third ahead of Coquard, Matthews, Alaphilippe, Ulissi, Visconti, Vlegan and Tim Wellens rounding out the top 10. Joy for Gasparotto and Wanty Group Gobert, the pro-continental squad. Moving into Belgium and the Wallonia for Flèche Wallonne. 196 kilometres and the Mur de Huy. The big rendezvous at the conclusion of this event. One of the grippiest hills you're ever likely to meet in this part of Belgium, and it comes at the end of almost 200 kilometres of hard racing. 1.3 kilometres in total, 9.6%, 19% in some parts of it. 196k, as I said, a circuitous route. 11 classified climbs and plenty of other lumps and bumps along the way to really test the riders. Another opportunity for Wanty Group Gobert, perhaps. And the other favourites, Gasparotto, Galopin, Frank Schleck. And all the attention on one man, a rider who could write his name in history today, Alejandro Valverde, going for a fourth success in the Flèche. Well, the 80th edition of Flèche Wallonne sees 10 riders head into the early breakaway group. As behind, no surprise that Team Movistar set the tempo to make sure they didn't get too far up the road. Tosh van der Sande attacks from the breakaway group of 10 riders to thin it out a little bit as Matteo Bono follows them. Steve Cummings is there, Sylvain Dillier, Mats Pedersen, those the first to be dropped. 4 riders in front with just under 2 minutes advantage. Cummings, Dillier, Bono and van der Sande. Crashes inevitable. And Frank Schleck is involved in this one. Disappointment for the former winner, the man from Trek Segafredo, gripping his shoulder, and that's going to turn out to be a broken collarbone. He'll be facing surgery the following day. Just under 30 kilometers remaining of the second time up the Mur de Huy. Just over half a minute for the breakaway group. Sylvain Dillier on the front for Team BMC seems to be enjoying the experience. And only Steve Cummings from Dimension Data can follow that pace. Dillier and Cummings ahead. Bono and van der Sande inevitably heading back to the peloton. Cummings accelerates and Dillier is dropped as they reach the 25 kilometers to go mark. Fine time trialist Cummings putting it up to the massed ranks of Team Movistar. Find themselves 48 seconds behind. And then the moves start to happen as Cummings is dragged back. Movistar and Katusha setting the tempo as Bob Jungels from Edix Quickstep the next to challenge. Pradler from Giant Alpecin joins with the Luxembourg champion. Inchausti is there playing a watching brief for Team Movistar. 3 breakaway riders inside the final 10 kilometers heading towards Mur de Huy. Gap just, well, less than 8 seconds as Jungels accelerates and drops Pradler. Tim Wellens, trademark attack for the Lotto Soudal man with just 6 kilometers remaining. And Philippe Gilbert suffering with that hand injury for BMC. He can't follow the pace. Wellens joins Jungels and Inchausti and is absolutely flying towards the bottom of the Mur de Huy. It's all not to be though. Just 2 kilometers from the finish, the peloton comes together once more as Movistar have done their job. Heading under the kite. 1,000 meters remaining. 50 riders hit the bottom of the Mur de Huy. And Alejandro Valverde finds himself in the perfect position at the front of the peloton as the gradient really grabs. Dan Martin attacks. A podium finisher in Flèche Wallonne in the past. Can he manage the Oracle this time? Alaphilippe, his teammate, goes on the other side of the road, but here's Valverde on the front ahead of Alaphilippe and Dan Martin. And they're not going to be able to get to Alejandro Valverde as he writes another chapter in cycling history, gets his hands in the air. The only man ever to win 4 editions of Flèche Wallonne, Alejandro Valverde and Julian Alaphilippe repeat the podium from 2015. Copybook performance by Team Movistar, perfectly executed and finished off by Alejandro Valverde, and look what this means to him. Frustration for Alaphilippe, but there's little that he or Dan Martin could do about Team Movistar and their team leader on their day of days in Flèche Wallonne once more. Well, it's amazing. The team did a wonderful job for me. Congratulations for their job. I finished it off. I was more nervous than ever because I knew that my feelings were better than ever. I felt very good in days recently, and I knew that I could win this race. But a lot of things could have happened in this race. Well, at the end, it all happened well. Alaphilippe and Visconti congratulate the winner. Valverde that gets the win ahead of the Edix Quickstep pair. Alaphilippe and Dan Martin. Wout Poels up for 4th. Gasparotto continues his fine form in 5th ahead of Sanchez, Albacini, Ulisi, Warren Barguil and Rui Costa rounding out the top 10. No doubt about the winner. And Alaphilippe, second for a second successive season.
J'aimerais bien gagner à la pédale avec.
Well, I would like to win the Flèche Wallonne before Alejandro's retirement. To beat him, I don't want to say I want for his retirement to hope that he can win. No, today he was better. And, I need to work a lot to progress to win here. Valverde has more than enough for Eric's quick step. Liège-Bastogne-Liège, maybe one of the most epic classics of this year with terrible weather conditions. That's coming up next after this short break.
Присмотритесь. Этот маршрут был разработан, чтобы стать полем битвы. Нибали возвращается, чтобы командовать атаками. Спринтеры и раздельщики будут штурмовать Нидерланды и Тоскану. А горняки возьмут под контроль Доломиты. Жестокая гонка, вплоть до финальных сражений в Альпах. Giro d'Italia. Только для смелых.
Oh, welcome back to the Best of Classics. It's the old lady, the La Doyenne. The oldest race of them all, and the oldest of the 5 monuments, is Liège-Bastogne-Liège, 253 kilometers in total, and all those really tough climbs culminating on the sprint up the climb in On. There's a new climb in there. Nanio coming close to the finish, and absolutely terrible conditions for the riders. And this the 102nd edition of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Snow, sleet, hail, rain all day long. 8 riders in the early breakaway as, well, pretty much everyone out there suffering. And rain gear on for much of the afternoon. Eight riders in the breakaway as the bunch never let them get too far. Well, they at one stage 9 minutes up the road and then down to less than 5 minutes with 75 kilometers remaining. Julian Alaphilippe dreams of victory in Liège. Second last year, second in Flèche Wallonne, 2015 and 2016. The snow reappears and makes this probably one of the toughest days of bike racing this year and for many a year indeed. 60 kilometers remaining. Always unpredictable. Thomas Vauclair of Direct Energy chasing the leading group at the top of Col de Rosier. And the peloton behind, happy to let the French star try his luck. The breakaway starting to split inside 50 kilometers to go. Romain Hardy from Team Cofidis, Thomas de Gent from Lotto Soudal, and Alessandro De Marchi from Team BMC. 3 teams with red colours on the front of the race. With 38 kilometers remaining on the fabled La Redoute climb, Romain Hardy and Alessandro De Marchi ahead of the peloton. And the Belgian spectators out in force despite the inclement weather. Crash at the back of the pack. Rafał Majka, the Tinkoff leader, the Polish rider, out of the race, out of contention. Romain Hardy with 23 kilometers remaining. The Cofidis man is the last rider to be caught by the peloton as a new race gets underway. At the bottom of La Roche au Faucon. Etix leading the peloton. White poles of Team Sky is in front of the bunch for the first time. Carlos Betancourt for Team Movistar shows that he's on good form. It's not an attack that would last though. Etix quick step, still controlling the pace. Julian Alaphilippe and Dan Martin's teammates confident of a strong performance after their efforts in Flèche Wallonne. Michał Kwiatkowski from Team Sky, the former world champion, tries his luck, but not to be. Vincenzo Nibali, he's dropped on the San Nicola climb As Diego Rosa, his teammate from Astana. He attacks at the top of the hill. Racing clear with Ilnur Zakharin from Team Katusha, who pulls a foot out. Manages to stay upright. The Russian rider, that was a scary moment on slippery cobbles. But altogether with 5 kilometers remaining. And heading towards this new climb, added this year, the Runanio. .600 meters at 10.5% as Julian Alaphilippe leads the peloton up. Albacini from Orica Green Edge takes the head of the peloton. Only 4 riders in with a shout. Heading to the conclusion of Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Ilnur Zakharin is chasing behind. Albacini, Costa, Sanchez and Wout Poels in control at the front of the race. Albacini on the front, Costa, Sanchez as Wout Poels from Team Sky goes to the front. He attacks. The reaction is swift from Michael Albacini, and Costa and Sanchez are able to winch themselves back into contention. Into the final 200 meters. Wout Poels goes on the right-hand side of the road. Albacini, who'd done so much of the legwork, finds himself trailing in the wake of the Dutchman, who's racing clear to victory in Liège, and a famous win for Team Sky, their first monument success, the first success for a Dutchman in Liège since 1988. Joy unbounded for Wout Poels and Team Sky. For the other riders in Liège, just relief that they've survived a really tough day in the saddle. Alaphilippe at the back of the group. Wout Poels, well, he can hardly believe it. A big moment for the tall, slender Dutchman, who manages to keep Albacini, Sanchez and Rui Costa on his wheel in the all-important sprint.
Yeah, it was really nice, and I almost can't believe it that I won here today, so I'm really, really happy. I think really, with the weather, it was even snowing, and it was a really hard day, but I like the last couple climb. We rode away there, and it was a really hard edition, so I'm really proud of it. Yeah, I didn't feel super anymore, but I think everybody was really, really tired, and I did a little attack, but it was not a really good one, and then I thought after the corner I'd go full the sprint, and then I won, so amazing.
Wout Poels gets the victory ahead of Albacini and Rui Costa. Samuel Sanchez at the back of the break. Ilnur Zakharin leads in the peloton ahead of Warren Barguil, Kreuziger and the rest. But mounting the top step is the Dutchman Wout Poels for Team Sky, taking a breakthrough success for them. Well, for the last 2 months we've focused on the classics. Now it's time for the Grand Tours, with the Giro d'Italia coming up in May. That's it for a wonderful edition of the Spring Classics for this year. Goodbye.